This is Talk It Over, the only dating relationship podcast that begins in bed. Make the time to subscribe. Now let's pull back those sheets.
Can we talk about the relationships? Can we talk it over, see how we can build? Only you and I know that's the way it goes. In this big old bed, they'll talk it over, so talk it over. Can we talk it over? We can talk it over. Can we talk it over in bed? Talk it over. Can we talk it over? Can we talk it over? Oh, in bed.
Yo, it's your man Big O back for another taping, another episode of Talk It Over. We got a fire one today. The bed is getting crowded. Trish, you already laughing. Trish, how are you today?
Today I'm actually really good.
Where are you today?
I'm home.
Okay.
Listen,
All right.
This is like a record. This is like 3 weeks in a row, but next weekend I'm not gonna be home. So
Next weekend you're gonna be leaving me again.
Actually, I'm gonna be in the city.
Oh, you coming to see Big O?
You know what? We
Don't
might
tell
just
me.
have
Don't
to
tell
make
me
it
no.
happen.
All right.
We might just have to make it happen.
All right. I'm gonna hold you to that.
Okay. Well, hold on. Well, don't do that yet.
Okay. All right. Well, listen.
We'll talk about that during the week.
All right, so with talking about new things, new possibilities, we got some new things coming up for all of our listeners here in 2021 that I'm very excited about. The Talk It Over family is growing phenomenally, exponentially, and with that grows some opportunities. So Trish, this is a great opportunity for a great time for you to tell our listeners what's coming down the line by way of your new project coming up. So do you want to talk about the Love Corner?
Absolutely. Well, so you guys all know, and I think I dropped this bomb on y'all a couple of weeks ago, that I was starting school, and everyone was like, "Oh, what kind of school you going to?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna be a sex coach,
Hey.
love, relationship, and sex coach." So I'm like fully in the mix of that right now. School started about a week and a half ago? 2 weeks ago? 2 weeks ago, school started. So and in this journey of going to school, I met Jenn. She's a pleasure coach and went to the school that I went to. So, as we were talking and brainstorming as we usually do, we decided that we're going to a new segment called the Love Corner, where we ask all of our guests and audience listeners, if you guys have any questions regarding love, relationship, and sex that you want specifically answered, myself and Jenn are going to be teaming up and coming to y'all like once a week to basically talk about everything love, relationship, and sex. I mean, there's no, don't hold back.
There's no taboo topics.
Exactly. There's nothing taboo.
All right. So to summarize, basically what's happening is you guys are going to branch off and start a new portion of Talk It Over, which is going to be the Love Corner, which is devoted to listeners who have any questions about their sex life in any shape, way, or form to hit you up or Jenn, and you're going to come on and answer it live.
If you want to ask a question to us or get some questions rolling in, we can send questions in to talkitover.show.
Mm-hmm. Or on DM.
Show.
Yep.
On DM.
Or DM on Instagram.
Exactly.
Right. So speaking of questions, I want to let our listeners know, as always, we are joined by extremely great guest panel. And we actually have a lot of first timers on here today who are actually going to be participating as our audience. This is something else that we've been talking about. And now we finally decided to bring into 2021. So for all our listeners and all our fans, we've been telling you, get in the topics that you want to hear us talk about. Well, today we're actually putting that into practice as we actually have audience members, first time guests with us right now during the taping who will be able to participate by way of throwing in questions and topics into the mix that Trish, myself, and other guests will try to get to. So let me introduce them really quickly to our listening audience. So we have Andrea, we have Meredith, we have Alita, we have Inga Lee, and we have I think that's it. That's actually it. Yeah. And so we're going to give them each an opportunity after the taping to let us know what they thought and what they would like to talk about. And possibly we're probably going to have, you know how we do, we're going to have them back on for an actual taping. So for all the listeners out there who thought we were just talking about it, if you have something you want to discuss, if you have a topic you want us to hear us talk it over about, go ahead and submit, because you never know, you might be on a taping for talkitover.show. So let me go ahead and introduce the guest that you will hear from today. Welcome back, Jenn, who is partnering again with Trish for the Love Corner that's coming direct to you here in about 4 weeks. Our pleasure coach. How are you today?
Great. I'm great, actually.
Good, good.
Good weekend. So.
Are you excited about this Love Corner that's going to be happening?
Yeah, it's
Are you ready? Are you ready for the bombardment of questions that's going to come flying at you and Trish?
It's literally keeping me up at night with excitement. Like I'm really, like,
hey, sex sells. And if there's anything that anybody if there's one topic that has been dissected the most, looked at from all angles, is sex. If there's one topic that's more confusing than anything else out there, is sex. So can't wait to get that up and running for you guys.
Me too.
And I'm gonna go over and see Najami is in the building with us today. Welcome back, Najami. How are you? It's been a while since we've heard from you.
I'm good, thank you. I'm loving well. How are you all loving today?
We are doing excellent. How are things going over with the store? And again, let people know where they can find you. I know it's Bushwoman's
Conversations Project.
Bushwoman's Conversations Project.
Yes, and the word woman is spelled WO/MAN. Objective is bringing women and men together to co-create healthy communities so we can live our lives on purpose by reducing dysfunctional relationships with self. And so it's all about personal development awareness, all about encompasses your lifestyle. And I'm happy to say that I will be embarking with Talk It Over to do a segment called Conversations with Bushwoman coming up soon. We are in the development stage.
There we go.
And also to be part of the Ginkgo Leaf Production 55 and over.
Can I be one
as well in the future? So we got some things in the works.
Can I be one of your first guests, Najami?
You can, sure, definitely.
Yes. Beautiful.
Sure.
All right. And somebody we haven't heard from, but who is always welcome at any point in time to come back, Talk It Over's famous, illustrious Mr. Chris Means, Just Ask a Brother. Welcome back. How have you been feeling? What's been going on?
Oh, everything's everything. It's been, as everyone knows, 2021 has gotten off to a little bit of a rough start. A little bit of leftover from 2020, but we're heading a good direction.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, welcome back. Can't wait to have you in, join in on the topic. And certainly last but not least, my man Changa is in the building, always with the knowledge and the blessings and the peace. Changa, how are you today?
What up, Big O? I'm well, man. I'm down here doing my thing, running errands for wifey.
Okay, so you multitasking right now. This is how well balanced this man is.
Yeah, I don't know about balance, but yeah, I'm definitely multitasking.
All right. We're definitely glad to have you on. So Trish, are we ready to get to the feel good story? This is going to be a quick one because we got a lot of people and I want to get to the topic of the day quick.
Yeah, we are. Actually, I think you got the feel good story this week.
I do. I'll go ahead and run this through. And then we'll go ahead and get to the topic. Oh, before I do that, please forgive me. Brother Hassan is also in the building as well. Always a welcome voice. Hassan, surrounded by so much knowledge, wealth, and wisdom out here. Hassan, greetings and welcome, brother. How are you today?
Peace and power. Much abundance, my brother. It's my pleasure to be here in observation mode right now. So I got an ear and I'll be in and out.
Okay, sounds good. Just let me know. Again, you're always welcome. All right, so let's get this feel good story for our listeners. So a group of local entrepreneurs pays for over $40,000 of groceries for customers at an Atlanta store. And this happened last year. Black entrepreneurs got together and decided to give back to their communities. And basically what they were doing, they felt like after the economic fallout of COVID-19 and millions of people still without jobs and wondering where the stimulus checks are going to come from or if they're going to come. They decided to partner with a hunger relief organization and decided to basically go to their local grocery store, which was in Atlanta, and take care of over $40,000 of groceries for customers that came in that day. They took over all 12 aisles of the grocery store for 2 hours, and basically anybody that came through during those 2 hours and was able to get groceries got those groceries comped. So I thought that was an amazing story. Another example of how humans are reaching out to help humans when things are down and when we're all, it's just an uplifting story in my eyes as how we can all come together despite, as Chris Ask a Brother Means alluded to, the tumultuous beginning that we had of 2021. And 2020 was also an example of a lot of people uplifting, and that's something I hope personally carries through for the years to come. So, Trish,
Sí, señor.
you ready to bring in the topic?
Absolutely.
Y'all ready to get smoking?
So, today's topic, everyone, I hope y'all ready. I know I sent out a quiz a couple of days ago, so I hope everyone had the chance. If you don't know yours in particular, you had a chance to do it. We're talking about love languages today, how to read them, and do they need to match? So love languages are big for me. I don't know if we've ever talked about this, but like,
yeah, give our listeners a breakdown of what a love language is.
So a love language is basically the way that you need to be loved, or a way that someone else can show you their affection. And it corresponds with how you like to receive affection. So there are 5 love languages. There's gift giving or receiving gifts, words of affirmation, quality time, physical touch, and acts of service. I'm sorry.
Whoa. Read those again. I thought the love language was just what I want, which is just silent sex and sandwich, which is an illusion for food. That's what I thought the love language was. Just the 3 S's. Just
listen.
So there's 5.
I had somebody tell me the other day they love language was French, and I was like, "Oh no! Listen.
That's actually a language. That's an actual language. That is a.
It's the language of love, I think they call it, but it's not your love language.
Got it.
Let's
read those 5. Yes, give me those 5 again.
They are acts of service, physical quality time, gifts or receiving gifts, and words of affirmation.
Okay, I wasn't that far off. I wasn't that far off.
Now, I know my love languages. Do you know yours, O?
I do. But before we get into mine, let's go ahead and get this. Let's get this popping. Let's get these guests. Let's get Ask a Brother Memes in here. Let's get Chang in here. Let's get Najami. Let's get Jen. Chris, it's been a while since we've talked with you. So let's get your thoughts on how you value love languages. Do they have to match when you're dating or seeing someone? And are you aware, like, how important are they to you?
And I preface this with having left a bad relationship or gotten out of a long-term relationship. And it was one that I actually went and sought counseling on. And it was a spiritual therapist. And we went through a bunch of different kinds of, what happened? What could you have done better? What could you have been a part of to be better in that relationship? And I remember this, we hit a scripture, 1 Corinthians 13. If I speak in the tongues of men and of angels and do not have love, I'm nothing but a clanging cymbal or resounding gong. And I'm like, all right, that's cool, not to get like biblical or deep into that. But I am a spiritual person. I was like, all right, what did I do in that relationship in terms of voicing my love language? Did I give love, or was it a bunch of noise? Looking at all those acts of the love languages, I come to realize that out of the 5 that were mentioned, I think, you know, a healthy balance of all five of them really kind of help cultivate and develop a relationship that you're in.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that. I think that was dope.
Well, I have a question though.
Okay.
Okay, so a healthy balance of all five, but
Uh-huh.
where do you do you know exactly which ones
The
are
hierarchy.
yeah, have the hierarchy? Because I
Yes.
should be a healthy balance of all of them, but which ones hold like rank highest for you?
You know, I don't know. It's kind of hard to say. I think, I consider myself also an empath, you know, having empathy. And so I think if you're actually looking at or being a part of whoever you're involved with, and it could be mom, dad, brother, sister, your lover. I think that, you know, there are going to be times, you know, where you uh, pay attention to giving gifts, not necessarily always in the anniversaries or birthdays or the holidays, but, you know, do you ever think about just bringing flowers out of the blue? And when do you know that maybe you should? You know, what did you say that your partner is a little salty this week that you need to maybe bring, you know, some chocolate into that household?
Which is true, but like, and we're gonna move on in like 2 seconds. But like for me, if you bring me chocolate, and that's like, gifts are not my love language. Like I accept gifts, but they don't do anything for me. I would rather you like give me a hug. Like my top love language is physical touch. So if you messed up, I need you to come correct and give me a real big strong hug, and then words of affirmation. So it's a hug followed by, you know, what you did.
And recognizing when that needs to take place in that relationship. I think that
Trish,
if you have a healthy balance and knowledge of all five of them, it will do you well in at least the longevity of a relationship.
okay. I understand what Chris is saying. You be flexible because you don't know which one is going to have sway over the other at any given point in time. Because Trish, I hear you, but you're gonna eat those chocolates. You're gonna take those chocolates. I hear you, but you don't front like you're not going to eat those chocolates. Right. All right. So let's get Najami in here. Najami, I would like to know what your take is on the five love languages. Do you think that one, if you're in a relationship, you need to be aware of your partners, or you need to be aware of your own? Because I know how, you know, you're big on self evolution in a sense, where getting to know self is very important. So with that context, where do you see the love languages fitting into that scope?
Well, interesting question. To this morning I was having a conversation about when did these love language, this type of conversation, this thought process emerge from, right? So yes, I believe first knowing your love languages is important. My top three are gift giving, words of affirmation, acts of service, and I agree with the others as well. It's important to really know what grooves you, what turns you on. So if you're in a relationship, I believe in paying attention. I believe if you're in school, because this is a earth school, if you're in school or you're in class, you better do the damn homework and pay attention. One of the things that I remember, one of mine is acts of is gift giving, right? So, and I think that kind of grew from as a child in Trinidad, where when people came to your house, they always came with a gift. They always came with something, or you cook food and you share food with your neighbor. I often saw foods being passed over the fence. And if you are in a relationship and you notice that your potential friend, or even in friendship, because love languages also runs in families and in friendships as well. You notice that your friend likes practical things, or your friend your potential person likes certain things, you observe certain things, you pay attention, then you kind of acquiesce, because when you understand others' love language, it helps to build a stronger relationship, of course. Now, certain things may not be, let's say your partner or friend may have a love language that you don't connect with. But because you want to foster good relationship building, you will acquiesce at times. Say, listen, I know you like this. Like some people say, well, I don't like flowers. I don't like buying flowers. I'm a flower person. I was in a relationship, an abusive relationship, that was so bad that I bought flowers every week to soothe myself until the bill was going up to 75 to almost $100. And then I said, I got to leave this sucker. All right. Because the flowers was just. So my thing is paying attention, asking questions, ask the questions and have conversations. But my thing is just like, a man who knows how to woo a woman, or should know, who wants to, should really need to pay attention to certain things that she likes and even ask the question.
Okay. I think that's very insightful. One, knowing, like you said, knowing how you perceive love, which is basically what this is, right? That's what the love languages is.
Yeah.
It's how you perceive when someone loves you, right? Because it's something that I thought about as we were just preparing for this topic, is that it's not how you feel about someone does not make that person stay. It's how they feel about you that makes that person stay, right? And so in that, what I'm trying to say is how they perceive love, right? Because I'm sure we've all been in situations where, like, I care for this person, but they are not receptive to the stuff I do. I'm giving Tricia chocolates, and she just like, boy, if you don't go on with these chocolates, all she wanted was a hug. It could have been so simple, right? I could have saved $14.95 and just gave it a hug. But I'm coming in with chocolates because to me, that's maybe that's my love language. Maybe I want somebody to give me gifts. But as you spoke about, and as Chris also alluded to, being that empath and being able to step outside of what your needs are and perceive the other person's, is very beneficial, very helpful. What, Jenn? I want to get Jenn in here. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think, what if somebody's not even aware of their love language, or is that problematic? Right? Let's say you do all five, and it's just not, for some reason, it's just not being received the way you thought it would be. Is that a bigger indication of something else, or is it just more work that needs to be done?
I mean, I think, well, first of all, I'll take all of Trisha's chocolates.
No, you won't.
See, and that's how it works, right? I'm like, Trish didn't accept my chocolate, so I found Jenn, and now Jenn likes the chocolates, and I'm good.
Okay. I think a lot of problems with the differences between love languages can be overcome by finding joy in what brings your partner joy. Like so often for me, there might be something I really love, but if the other person doesn't love it, it's like, oh, that was, I guess, half of it for me, was the joy I derive from someone else having joy. So if their gift giving is not big for me, or words of affirmation, those are low on my list. So if I'm dating someone who loves gifts, then I have to make up the difference by kind of tapping into their excitement around it. And that brings me so much joy. It's not so much the giving of the gift, it's what blooms for them when I show up the way they want me to show. They want people to show up for them. So that's my thought there.
Okay. So let's say, and Jenn or Changa, because I definitely think y'all both have some great insights. Let's say you do discover what that person's love language is, but it's so unnatural to you that you almost feel you're stepping outside of yourself. It becomes uncomfortable, right? Changa, where do you think that fits in the scope of the relationship, where you almost feel like you may be stepping on pins, or you're doing something unnatural, or it's just not you? Do you necessarily feel that that as an indication of you need to distance yourself from that relationship, or just an opportunity to grow based on how you feel about that person?
First, let me chime in and say thanks for having me back. I haven't been here in a while. It's good to see everybody.
Of course, man. Of course. You're always welcome.
And you can hear me. I got on my AirPods so I can keep the
We got
dog.
you.
All right.
Coming in
So
clear.
I think first, my love language is obviously, I got to state the obvious. It must be children, because as my wife and I are having our 7th baby on the way, we got quarantine baby.
Oh, congrats.
Yeah, I think that we speak the same language.
Number 7.
Yeah, number 7. And then to your question, I think, yeah, you know what I'm gonna say. Every failure is an opportunity. So every disagreement, every headbutting moment, or every miscommunication is an opportunity to grow together, but more importantly, to grow oneself. Because even if you're realizing that you're not growing together in love, you have a better understanding of what love means for you, and then that can help you go out there and look for that same language speaker. So either way, it's a win-win. Just when our emotions are involved, it sometimes doesn't feel that way.
Yeah, and I thank you for saying that. It's very powerful, and it's a good way to flip the perspective of anyone who is dealing with the rough patches or the down patches of a relationship, right? Because there's highs, there's lows, there's ups, there's downs, that's the ebb and flow. And sometimes when it's on a down or it's a low, it is hard to look at it as from that perspective that you just alluded to, Changa. It's like it's a growing opportunity. It's an opportunity to grow. And even though it may not, the outcome may not be the resolution of the relationship, it's still a positive because I've grown.
Right, exactly.
That's huge. That's huge. Trish.
Yes.
What are your thoughts? What are you taking it all in?
I'm taking it all in. So I have, and y'all know I always got a story for y'all. Like, I have definitely been in a relationship. Story time, hey.
Well, all you got was chocolates.
Actually.
My man spending all his money on chocolates. Getting the Cadbury bunny. Getting the what's the other popular ones? The expensive ones.
And I could never tell him, like, I love chocolate, but these that you keep bringing, they just sit in the corner. They like, I don't even like them.
He didn't even see them in the corner, just sitting there. That wasn't the indication. All the chocolates just piling up.
But no, I have been in a relationship that actually ended up, it ended up dissolving because he didn't understand my love language. He was so uncomfortable, which Changa just kind of mentioned this. He was so uncomfortable with my love language. He didn't know how to reciprocate it. Like, my top love language is physical touch. He didn't like to hold hands. He didn't like to hug. He didn't like to do nothing.
Give me 6 feet.
Conversations, but he just did not know. So it would be like, and it would feel awkward when he did it. Like, literally, there was this, like, he would go to reach, like, he told me one day he has to remember to hold my hand. And I was like, what do you mean you have to remember to hold my hand when we out in public? Like, that should come naturally. And he was like, no, I'll be walking next to you and I have to remember, insert handhold here. And literally, that's what it felt like. Insert handhold here. It literally just was like, nah, that's not gonna work for me, bro.
So
I feel genuine.
Right. That kind of goes back to what I was saying was like, how because that was not his, that might have rated low and for whatever reason, all things can be kind of traced to, childhood, and whether good or bad, it can be traced to how you were raised, how you receive love. But that goes back to what I was asking, like, how do you deal with, let's say the tables were flipped and you're big on physical touch, you're not big on gift giving, but let's say he was there ever a point in time where he was just like, I wish you would get me some stuff? Or did he ever have like any type of not conflict, but you know what I'm asking, where it's just like, hey, I'm getting you these chocolates all the time, the least you can do is get me a pair of socks or something once in a while, like.
Well, see, and that's the funny part, because gift giving was really low. We sat down and did our love languages. I make it a point in my relationships very early on to sit down and do love languages together with the person, like take the quiz with the person. This way, we have an understanding of how to kind of
Of how
communicate
to,
with each other.
okay.
Uh-huh.
Okay. So it doesn't have to match for
It
you.
doesn't have to match, but at least if you have a better understanding of how I receive love. Like if you do these things, it tells me and it shows me that you love and you care about me. We did the same thing for him. Words of affirmation were high on his list. So every morning, like once a month, I would cultivate this text message that told him what an amazing guy he was, and he would like love it. And granted, that might have been my
He's
love
like, I
language,
love this. She deserves some chocolates.
but I know what I need to do to keep you.
She deserves some chocolates. I'm gonna get her some chocolates. I love this. This is my baby.
So it was definitely a very interesting relationship. Like we had to really really have like serious conversations about it because I didn't feel love. Like he would say it, but
Right.
words, there was nothing that backed it up. So that was
Right. In the way you perceive it. So
yeah.
let me ask Najami, how important is that like Trish said, they don't necessarily have to match, but how important is it to stay on top of the way you perceive? And also a deeper question, I guess, can it change? Or are your love languages set in stone? Like you're always going to love the way you want to be loved, regardless of the context, the person. Your love language is your love language for life. Or is it fluid? Could Trish have learned to like chocolates as her love language?
She can learn to appreciate it. She doesn't have to like it, but she appreciate the gesture.
Mm-hmm.
I think consideration is important. Being considerate and being kind in your relationship. Yes, we all have been through our traumas in relationship building from childhood to now, right? So it's important to be aware of your own blockages that prevents you from, just being loving in your relationship with your partner. It's like, I know, let's say I may not like football. My love language involves maybe the partner, but I may just sit for a minute, for a while and engage, and because that's his love language, and he just loves it if I do, if I do certain things that he likes. So, and there are certain times when you may bow and say, listen, babes, I'm not able to do that today with you, or I want to do something different. But sometimes relationships is about give and take. So if you want the fabric in the love ship to be woven into a harmonious level, again, paying attention and just being kind and considerate, and also I agree with Trish having the conversation early in the relationship about what your love languages are or is, so you can understand how to do the dance. It's like dancing dancing a rhythm. Now some dance you have a partner and you guys move, and then there are certain people you just have to teach them a couple steps how to move your waist this way, because your love language might be a lot of hip gyrations or whatever. So if the person is willing to learn how you like to dance or learn certain things, you got something that's working, but just I think what helps is your partner's happiness. Your happiness is important, but also, you get pleasure in seeing that your partner is happy.
Right. Right.
It's a matter of like, wow, this really makes her day. As the saying goes, when mother is happy, or when the woman in the house is happy, everybody happy. The dog doesn't get kicked, the cat doesn't get kicked. All right, you don't burn water. Everything is flowing.
Got it.
You're really into this woman.
Happy spouse,
if you're
happy
really
house.
This woman, you're really into this man, definitely.
Got it.
I hope I answered the question.
Yeah, no, that was awesome as always, Najami. Your take on things is so like spot on. Really appreciate when you're able to speak to it. Chris Means, I want to ask a brother.
Mm.
So what do you do? And this kind of goes back to what I was talking about before, because your take is be adaptable, right? Be able to basically be that partner that can do any of the five based on who you're with.
Right.
Do you think it's do you think, and this goes back to what I was asking earlier, if one of those five, let's say you're with the partner that the top one on their list is like the one that you just it just grates you. It just grates your soul to have to do it because it's just like this is so not me. Where do you go from there? Where do you go to salvage that, or do you bail? Do you hit the bailout button?
Well, all the guests have mentioned something that's pretty critical, that I would encourage for your listeners and just everyone, is you got to have good communication. You know what I mean? You got to be able to communicate on what level you may or may not particularly feel about those chocolates since I started, or what level you feel about what brand of chocolate or what flowers are when. I think, having a conversation and communicating with each other brings, the next set of developing a unity with each other. And then the next aspect, has that coming together, so you got that communication, developing that unity, bringing that togetherness. But if you're not actually engaging each other at any particular time throughout the relationship on how I'm feeling, when I'm feeling, what I feel, what I don't, or not being able to understand, listen, I know you don't like football, but I'm watching football today. But let me give you, what can I do to put in my time and energy? And let's talk about hey, how might I be able to get you interested in? Have you been to a game? Can we go together? Can I tell you what, just like any of these things involve a lot of just constant nurturing of the relationship. And that nurturing comes through just communication.
Okay. All right. It's going to be interesting. I have a couple more questions, but Trish, I think we should probably, what do you think? We should probably take a break, get a word from our sponsors here, and then come back.
It's that time. So we're going to take a moment, let our sponsors come in, do what they do, and then we'll be right back.
Sounds good.
Are you looking to become the best version of you, but need a little outside perspective to help you get there? Please reach out to Mind, Body, and Spirit Marriage and Family Therapy. We provide individual, couples, and family counseling. If you're looking for a down-to-earth therapist that's relatable and that you can connect to, check us out on our website, mbsmft.com. We're also on all social media outlets, on Instagram, The Black Therapist, and on Facebook and Twitter, MBS MFT. You're listening to Talk It Over, the only dating relationship podcast that begins in bed.
All right, so we are back, everybody. Today we are talking about love languages. Our topic in particular is love languages, how to read them, and do they need to match?
So I think, do they need to match? No, I think is kind of the
Can I jump in here? I have something I want to
Absolutely, Najami.
Chris made a very important point. If I'm watching football with you and I want to understand the game, because I'm a woman who asks questions, don't get irritated because I don't understand the game. Share with me, communicate with me. Well, honey, this yard means this and that, because I want to understand the game with you, because I'm learning something new, right? So don't get irritated with me because I'm asking you questions, like today is a big day for football, I understand, right? So, okay. But, what does this mean? What does that mean? I mean, but you also too, you can't be annoying with it, especially when the man is fully into it, Just make sure you're watching the football with the man, you got something sexy on,
That's a little tip out there for the listeners. That sounds like something that would be
surprised what can happen at halftime.
Right.
That's right.
Exactly. Might not even make it through the game.
As long as she's not asking questions during the
bring out
playoffs.
some chips and some nice sexy shorts or lingerie or something. Bring out some chips and some, as long as it's you and him, not his friends, okay?
Jen, what are your thoughts on anything that we talked about?
Yeah, I have two thoughts. I think Chris said earlier about making sure you've got some balance. I think there's a lot of truth to that. I think if any one of these 5 is at a 0, like really, really low, it's going to be problematic. I mean, gift giving is my lowest, but if I'm dating someone who, and this happened, where their gifts were so off, and it was indicative of other issues in the relationship, but like, I think all of them you have to have some proficiency around each of the 5. And then I just had one other thought, and that was, you asked about if there's can be fluidity between the languages and how you want to be loved. And something I noticed in myself, words of affirmation is really low for mine. I don't need a lot of words of affirmation. It's not how I know I'm loved. But when I'm feeling really insecure in a relationship, when I'm not at my best, oh man, you better tell me about how good you feel and how much you want to be with me. I really need a lot of words of affirmation when I'm not like on my game. It's really interesting. And outside of that, I don't need the
Right.
support.
So contextual a little bit.
Yeah, there's something interesting about, I mean, I can almost say every time I ask for words of affirmation, I'm feeling off center in some way. It might not be their doing, but like something in me is feeling like doubt.
Okay. So Trish, we got a question from one of the audience members that we've got to address really quickly. And then I want to get Changa in on his last few thoughts, and then we'll actually bring the audience in. But I definitely want to address, we got a question from the audience. I definitely want to give life to that.
So Meredith actually asked me a question.
Mm-hmm.
The question is, at some point, didn't both of your actions become a task? Did emotion and enthusiasm at some point leave you both, which made the breakup inevitable? I'm going to speak on my personal experience. For me, no. I think for him, yes, because it was so far out of his realm of comfort that it did become a task and a chore for him to have to reach out to me in a way that made me happy. Just because it wasn't something that came natural to him. For me, giving those words of affirmation, it wasn't a stretch because it was actually how I felt. Like, it was all of the words that I wanted to say on a normal basis, but you don't want to tell somebody every day you're amazing, because after a while it loses its point. It loses its poignancy, So I made it a point to really tell him when I knew he was working on something or doing something or had accomplished something that deserved those words. And I'll be very eloquent with him. And for me, it was a sense of fulfilling because I know when he received them, like, I loved him enough to be like, if this is how you want to be loved, I'm going to love you in that manner. And I didn't see anything wrong with it. But for him, it really was, there was a level of comfort that he just wasn't, he wasn't comfortable with. And essentially what ended up happening, and hopefully he never listens to this podcast, for me, because there was no physical touch in there, I equated it to he didn't love me. And
no interest, right?
I pulled all the way back, like I completely pulled away from him, because even though he was saying the words, there wasn't a reciprocal feeling for me.
Wasn't able to speak your language.
Yeah, he wasn't able to speak my language.
All about, and I think that's very important. And we've all been in, circumstances where the person we cared about or were with just didn't speak our language, or we couldn't speak their language. Mm-hmm. And I think, if you're not aware of that, I surely wasn't at that time, it can be very frictional and lead to what Meredith. Thank you, Meredith. Thank you for that question. Changa, last thoughts coming to you, my man. What are your thoughts on anything that we've discussed with the 5 love languages? Is there a 6th one out there that we don't know about? Anything that we've discussed?
Yeah, I mean, I think there is a 6th one, and to your point, you were talking about it: awareness, intuition. You got to pick up on. I mean, and I think it was Chris talking about the importance of communication. I think that word is so overused in relationships, but communication, as we talked about, is tacit. Sometimes it's tactile.
Right. There's different ways of communication.
Yeah, so I think it's all these things, and so you just said it. I think the most important thing is being aware. That mindfulness component of paying attention on purpose and being in the moment. because it changes. Marriage, I've been married 14 years, and it's the most vulnerable you can ever be when you really love someone. Because just because I'm married 14 years, 7 kids, doesn't mean that she won't get up and leave me tomorrow for whatever reason. So I
That
think it was
awareness has
Jen.
to stay. It doesn't just turn off.
Yeah, and I think it was Jennifer. I think was talking about insecurities. So even when the insecurities arise in me, I have to be aware of those, do my own self work to make sure that it preserves what I want. So if the relationship is something I want, I need to work on myself. It's constant working on self, because even if she is contributing to my insecurities, they would still be my insecurities, and if I'm contributing to her insecurities, they still belong to her. And then we try to eliminate a lot of the her and I and all of that kind of stuff anyway, just speak in terms of we. We just constantly, the language of unification can often be the thing that unifies us. So if it's always we and ours, even if it's her errors, that, if I'm going to identify them as not mine, then already I'm always creating a separation in our relationship.
Wow.
So, so it's just whatever those perceived things that even somebody from the outside wouldn't like, I still got to claim them as my own, because that's part of being yoked together. So, just that relationship with self is the most important thing to contribute to the relationship with your partner.
That's powerful, man. That is awesome. Thank you for that. That's huge. I'm going to be thinking about that and the way I speak and use words when I'm insecure or have problems in a relationship, and kind of start looking at it from that perspective as a our, a we, instead of just mine and hers. And I think that's very, very important and very useful. Thank you for that, Changa.
Yeah, sure.
So Trish, I'm gonna bring in the audience members who were so gracious enough to join us today, and thank you. And I have to shout out Hassan for bringing in a number of these audiences and connecting us. So thank you, brother Hassan. So first, I would like to bring in Meredith, if she wouldn't mind. Meredith, really quickly, if she's ready, can give us a little bit breakdown of where she works. I know she's in the fashion and beauty industry. I know she is founded and published. I'll let her speak if she's ready. She can tell you more about herself than I can. But Meredith, welcome, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you for the invitation. Thanks, Hassan. So my name is Meredith Leon McCormick. I am the founder of World Bride magazine, an international multicultural bridal publication that is now 20 some years old. I also own MLM Represents, a PR marketing branding firm, boutique, very small.
Nice.
We pick our clients. They don't get to pick us. And it's all a lot by referral. And I am divorced twice, so I can talk about bad relationships and good ones.
Okay.
And I have 3 children, adult children.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us. How did you like the topic of today, and would you be willing to come back and be a guest host? We'd love to have you and get your input, especially after what you've just shared.
I like the conversation because of the diversity in the input that everybody has from their different personal experiences, and it was authentic. And I think I was drawn to Tricia's comments for a couple of reasons. One of the questions I really wanted to ask her was what made her go into the pleasure career path. And it triggered it for me. It was a trigger to go back to the fact that she had this relationship that was somehow disconnected from, but I don't know enough about it, just based on the comments that she said. So I took a little bit of notes. That she said that certain things started to become, I learned to deal with this, so to make it happy, and she was willing to give and go on. And I just felt, hearing it without knowing the full story and his version of it, I felt
it rang a bell where you kind of struck a chord.
No, it just turned on a light for me, because at
Okay.
some point that you start to lose the sexy,
Yeah,
if
I see
things
what you're
start
saying.
to become perfunctory. But
Right.
perfunctory could be a good thing too, if it's something that you genuinely, organically, authentically want to do. So that's why I'm drawn to her comments, and I can see her fulfilling her new role as what she's going to do, because she takes it from a personal space and from authentic experience, that for me as the listener or the recipient, I wouldn't be offended by any of her comments, but I would be
Trish,
forced to look into the mirror at myself and say, damn, did I need
Trish
to work
over here
on it?
beaming. That was Trish. I think you got your first guest for the Love Corner. I think you got your first guest
Listen,
for the Love
no,
Corner connection. I think this is a
I
episode number
found it
one premiere right here.
I found it really interesting, because a relationship, after running, so the magazine started because I was married to a Irish Mexican gentleman. So, and I'm Haitian, but American bred and born. So, but this is my second husband. My first husband is African American. So people assume, because we were both Black by skin color, that we had more in common than I did with my
With the other,
white pale husband.
yeah, yeah.
And it was completely the opposite. We had more in common, and we
Save
were able
some.
to converse and do it. So a relationship for me with World Bride magazine, that's what gave birth to it, was both those experiences in both those marriages, I was able to put together a cohesive thought process, not on getting married, but on marriage itself and the evolution of relationship, that tends to be diluted or overstated, because we have society has trained us to have a perception of marriage. So relationships and marriage can be either selfish or selfless.
And that's what your
And that's
magazine,
what we
World
focus.
Bride
Yes.
magazine,
That's
focus on. Awesome, awesome. Thank
Trish,
you,
I'm
thank you,
excited
Mary.
about you.
Thank you. And Trish, you got a fan. So thank you, Meredith. I can't wait to have you back on here as we continue to talk it over. So going,
Go
yeah,
ahead.
go ahead.
I
Well,
was
I was
gonna
going to
say,
bring in.
Meredith, I receive everything you just said, girl. When I say I'm over here grinning, you just made my whole entire day. We will definitely talk some more offline. Olin, who are you bringing up next?
I'm bringing in Alita. I want to see if I got a fan today. Alita, help me out here. Let's balance these scales. Alita, is there anything I said at all? So welcome. I want to welcome Alita. You are a community organizer and activist, an advocate for education, a champion of the arts. But please let our listeners know. Give us a little bit about what you want our listeners to know about you and where they can find you.
Oh, sure. Thank you so much for having me today. I'm definitely in this conversation and have, this is it's very interesting listening to y'all today, and I'm glad to be here. But just quickly, I'm a community organizer, as you said. I'm the tenant president of a building with close to 3,000 people, and this year I've decided to run for city council. So I'm basically from around 57th Street all the way through Hell's Kitchen, Chelsea, the West Village, just to the top of Tribeca. It's a really big district.
Wow, nice! Congratulations.
I think that
2021.
congratulations or condolences. But
Right, depends on right.
regardless of the outcome, it's been an incredible education just running. So yeah,
Okay, well, welcome. Would you come back and be a guest host in subsequent discussions if you have the
Yeah,
time?
absolutely. I'd love to. You guys are super interesting. I like listening to y'all talk.
All right, thank you. So, yeah.
I mean, I don't know if we're still talking about these love languages, because I've been thinking about my own and how interesting we talk about, having relationships with people whose languages of love may not match.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that's an interesting issue, and how do you deal with that, and how do you balance each other? I also just
Sounds like we might need to have a part 2 and get you in the
right.
panel.
I also love what
So,
Meredith just
there.
said about having more in common with her white Hispanic husband. I'm a child of, mixed race. My mother's Italian, my father's Black. He's Creole from Louisiana, but people gave him, I have seen people ask him, why did you marry a white woman? Why didn't you marry a Black woman? He said, when I came up north, I found more in common with this white Italian woman who was raised Catholic and whose traditions and her families were more similar to my own than other Black women who may have been raised in different cultural, families.
I'm hearing multiple topics coming up.
A different topic.
No, it's great. Thank you for that, because that's something that we can definitely
That's
something we can definitely get to. Absolutely. I thank you for bringing that into the conversation, because I think that is we're talking over there is no topic that is off limits, and I think that's a very important one. How multicultural, multi-race relationships should be looked at, and all the stigma and merits that come along with that, from being married to having kids, and how you raise them to have enough cultural pride in both sides, right? And how to deal with the conflicting messages that they may get from the world at large. So definitely thank you for that. We will definitely put that on the docket, as well as I think we should have a second part, two-part to love languages. What you think, Trish?
I think we definitely should.
Okay, let me see if I can find a fan. I still don't have a fan yet. Let me see if I can find somebody.
2 for me.
There might have been 2 for you. That's fine. That's fine. You got the love corner. I'll hold on to this. Andrew, how are you? Andrew, welcome. So a little bit of Andrew, let us know, you are in the performing arts industry, right?
Well, actually, I'm just starting out. So I'm actually in the higher education field, but I just ventured out and I did a project for Tinder. So that's kind of like the start of like beginning everything. So I'm en route of becoming a comedian. So that's my ultimate goal.
Nice.
Yeah. So
have you done any stand-up yet? Can people find you? Is there a recording of you?
So the funny thing is, I did one open mic night in 2019 in February. But when I finally decided that stand-up was something that I wanted to do, COVID-19 showed itself. So if anything, I think what I've been doing is just trying to figure out like what route to take, because I know a lot of people are using TikTok and Instagram and Reels and things like that to like kind of spike up their careers, but for me, I like being at like a bar or a club and being able to do that. So I'm really excited for when the world really does open back up, because I moved to Chicago last year. Yes, absolutely. So during this time, I'm gonna end up taking classes at Second City just to kind of help me out a bit. So yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, welcome. Did you enjoy the conversation? Would you come back and be a guest?
Absolutely. So while everyone was talking, I was going through like pictures of random pictures in my phone, and I found this meme, because I screenshot a lot of memes because I really like to laugh. I like to make my friends laugh. And the meme said, "Not understanding your partner's love language will really have you out here buying expensive gifts for someone who really just wants the dishes clean for real."
Trish.
So it's funny.
Amen. Trish, you're not gonna be on the second part. I gotta Trish, you can't come back on part 2.
Listen, stop being jealous, okay? Fans love me, okay?
Thank you for that, Andre. That was awesome. That's pretty much sums it up.
Many. Yes, I incorporate love languages in my life, not only in my romantic life, but actually with like my friends. So my best friend and I, in my friendships and all, like I think that in my friendships, my love language looks a little bit different than if I was in an intimate relationship with someone else. But I do believe that love languages are fluid, and they also change depending on partner, because you change yourself. You're constantly evolving. You're constantly changing into a new, not a new person, but a different version of yourself every day. So I truly believe that love languages are fluid. And I loved everything that everybody said. I relate to a lot of those things. I've had relationships fail because love languages weren't acknowledged or not not done. So for me, I really do try to figure out my friends' love languages and just try to make them feel special, because I mean, friendships are just as important as partnerships, and just as you want to give that to someone, you would like to receive it back. So I also refer to people as gardens, so making sure that you're nourishing people, because you want them to grow into the best people that they can be, or to grow the best plants. Absolutely.
All right. Well,
so
thank
that's
you.
my point of view.
Thank you. I what I've taken away from today's conversation is save my money and just give a hug and do the dishes. It could be so simple.
Fold my laundry.
Yeah, that's all I got to do. So simple. All right. So we got another audience member who I would like to bring in, Miss Inga Lee. Welcome and thank you for joining us. How are you today?
I'm very good. How are you?
Good. So let our listeners know where they can find you, what you're into. And I hear that you actually have a podcast as well, right?
Yeah, so I created my podcast 2 years ago, but I launched it last year.
Okay.
And I created my own website and everything. The name of it is Being Inga. I'm just being me. I'm on Anchor, and my website is beinginga with 2a's.com. So that's BEINGAA.com.
Okay. And what's your podcast centered around?
It's just centered around according to how I feel, and how I know that there's some people who don't really speak about certain things out loud. So I bring up certain topics where I go really deep inside and try to find out why. So I talk about a lot of things.
Okay. So more kind of like a self-revelation journey that the listeners can go on with you?
Yes.
Nice. Thank you. Would you like to come back and be a guest if we wanted you in? I know you better say yes. You got a podcast of your own. You got a podcast of your own, Inga. You don't have to commit now, but we'll keep sending you the invites, and you're more than welcome to join at any time on any topic. Thank you for being. And really briefly, I want to let our listeners know, because I know Alita, she says she's running for city council. If anybody was interested, they could find her at Alita. That is ALETA Lafargue LAFARGUE.com. Hassan, brother Hassan, I know you're hovering around here somewhere. I want to see if you could take us out, and again, thank you. If there's anything you wanted to add, and let our listeners know, or anything that you want to share about the guests that you've been so graciously kind to bring on and help expand this Talk It Over family. Floor is yours, brother.
Indeed. Thank you, ladies. Thank you, Meredith. Thank you, Alita, for coming on. It's like your presence is really appreciated. And in terms of me and love languages, I don't have a clue. I've been such a failure at love. You know what I mean? So my first priority is loving myself. Mm-hmm. But from what I've seen about the 5 love languages, I took a little test, and according to the little test that I took, quality time is most important to me, right? And that's now. Now I've been other people, where another time where gifts was important, and then when I was a younger man, it's like the physical part. Sex was real high on the list. So if there was a graph from before, that would have been 80-20. 20% would be divided among the other 4. But now it's like it's quality time. It's like quality over quantity. So that's simply where I'm at right now.
Okay. All right. Trish, the quiz that Hassan alluded to, is that something that anybody can take?
Anybody can take it. So go online to 5lovelanguages.com. That's the number 5lovelanguages.com. and it'll pop right up and you can learn your love languages. They have them for kids, for singles, for couples, for teens. So
Oh, wow.
Yeah, take it. It's good. It'll give
Okay.
you about who you are.
Okay. I'm gonna take all of them, even though I only fit one of those
Jesus Christ.
categories. I just want to see how consistent they are. So, all right. Thank you to all my guests. Thank you to Trish, as you as well. Thank you to the audience guests. Thank you so much for being a part of this. This was wonderful. I hope to see all of you again in the future at subsequent topics. And in the words of K.I., thank you, Anna Banana. Thank you, K.I. Thank you, Bumpy, sound engineer. Thank you all, guys. This couldn't be possible without you. And in the words of K.I., slow motion. We're out.
Hey, this is Andrew, the hopeless romantic guru, and you are listening to Talk It Over, the only dating relationship podcast that begins in bed.
You've been listening to Talk It Over, the only dating relationship podcast that begins in bed. We hope you got what you needed. Make sure you subscribe. Holla at you next week.